Okay. Chapter 6. Kwenda babili temwenso. Two people walking together removes fear. This is a really kind of like, I think, how can I put it? Like one way, if you were going places, or you know how like when you're growing up, when people used to play outside and go everywhere, you'd always be in a group.
Mm,
You'd never go as a kid on your own, which was, the Kwenda Vavili is like always go in two,
mm,
because if they're the two of you, you get a lot more confidence. And if I think back, when I was growing up, I grew up with my grandmother. My early formative years are with my grandmother, and we would go, where she used to do like her mini little farm was like you'd go into like deep outside of the town, and you'd, especially like in the rainy season when there's crops, because everybody has kind of grown, you have like these little paths, and everywhere else is like maize, whatever, vegetables and stuff. And so you could easily get lost in there, so you'd always have to walk with someone. But as kids, sometimes if you were trying to go and play with the other kids, you have to cross all of this, and you never went alone.
mm.
There would be like a group of you, and then you run together, have some confidence, because on your own you can never attempt that feat. You always had to attempt it with another 5-year old. And all of a sudden you had courage to go and play on the other side of the farm. But I think this one is, adding, maybe it's an addition or an expansion to the one around outstretched hands,
Mm.
because here it's now just talking specifically about a person, that you need a person
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
life to move with in this life, because that person will give you courage, will give you confidence, and whatever you're about to face, you feel a little bit more courageous. So, Clayton, when was the last time you felt courageous? Ah,
Oh,
that's question number one. And then question number two is, when was, thinking about like, when was the last time you were encouraged, and you kind of like expanded in yourself because of somebody encouraging you?
oh wow. So wow, this is good. Like, because it really ties into the whole immigrant,
Mm,
side of it for me. Like, courage was, I've had to be courageous a few times, and each time I've had to actually borrow the courage from someone else, right?
mm,
Um, I remember this very first time, and I think it's very related to, both times happened around the same time. They involved the same person. Uh, when we just moved here, like, we didn't want to go anywhere because, like, you don't know where to go, right? Like, it's
yeah.
a new place, and where we come from, we're not how do I describe it? Like, we're not technologized. Maybe we are now, but at the time we were not, right? It's like, and what I
Mm,
mean by that is, like, we don't depend and trust on the technology. We don't use that as
yes.
extension, right? like
Yeah.
like when
Yeah.
when
Yeah. Yeah.
when the weather forecast says there's going to be rain, I wouldn't carry my umbrella. I'm like, yes, like,
Please.
what does the weather
Why
forecast know,
did
right?
you say no?
And then you go outside and it rains, and it's like, oh,
Okay.
seems like
They
it
were
knew
right
something.
today.
Yeah, they were right today. They were lucky, right? So a few times you get rain done until, so don't you have the bomb up? It's like, I do. Yeah, why don't you do what it says? Like,
Yeah.
do you really take it seriously? It's like, yeah, you have to. It
Yeah, it's like it's
there's a
never wrong.
it's never wrong. There's a lot of people, there's a lot of smart people behind it making sure it's not wrong. And then you see how, the spirit in which they're saying it and how seriously it's like they're talking almost about, a very strong religious thing. And you're like, okay, I guess I have to take the bomb up seriously. It's
Yeah.
like, yes, you have to.
Yeah.
But like those little things, they Google Maps
Oh, and
says
by the
this.
way,
Yeah.
for non-Australians listening to this, Bob is actually an app that shows the weather. It's not Bomb
Oh,
Explorer.
thanks for that. Yeah, there could be some misinterpretations. Yes. BOM, bomb. Bureau of Meteorology.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, so around that time, I have this friend. His name is Hans. He would reach out to me. Like, he's, I think his ethnicity is, he's from the Philippines, and
Mm.
you know the outstretched hand, right? That we're talking about earlier. It's like he was stretching his hand out to me, and sometimes I would even say no to some of the help, and he would insist because he gets it. Like, he had the experience. He had been
Mm.
here longer, and it's like, yeah. And he'd take me aside and tell me, and go like, hey, bro, I think you may not understand what this is for and how it's all going to play out, but this is a good thing. You need to take this seriously, and I'm trying to help you here. And then you
Yeah.
kind of like go, okay, all right, he really seems to care about this, but I still don't get it. But sure, I'll go along.
Yeah.
And so we kept working and developing that relationship, and many years later, even up to now, we still do that. Like, we'll meet up and just, go for some exercise, go for a long chat, and just talk. But I gained so much courage from interacting with this person, right? I don't know
Mm.
why, but that's it. Like, I think the outstretched hand eventually sort of like got ingrained, and then that relationship built. And I remember that time, like, I'd never been to a hackathon before, and
Mm.
and then he talked me into it. He said, "Hey, let's go. Why don't we go do this hackathon?" It's like, why? It's like, oh, we could win money. It's like, this is going to be a lot of teams. How sure are you we could even win? It's like, oh, we just have to try. And
Wow.
we went on this streak like for 3 weekends in a row, going to each hackathon and winning it.
And winning.
Yeah, and
Even
we
it's more amazing.
yeah,
Even more.
we won. Like, we were in shock that we won, but and then we went and did it again, and then did it again, and like, but he just had the belief. Like, he just believed it and said, "Look, you all, I see the potential here, right? Let's come on, let's go. If I put you under the right conditions, you guys can actually do something great." And it happened again and again, and and for me, like, that encouragement, I think that you we need those kinds of people in our lives, because sometimes we can't look, we can't go outside of
Yes.
ourselves to see ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally agree. And I think sometimes the fact that somebody takes you out of your comfort zone and just like nudges you a little bit, nudges you a little bit, nudges you a little bit, it is, perfect.
Yeah.
It's what you need. Or the people who just give you a certain kind of confidence because they have your back. I have like I think one of my kind of like close um memories that I have carried with me for a long time is just, and this is in our consulting days. So, but that has given me so much courage over the years. And I was just at a client, and the client was really difficult. And I was just having, a really terrible time with a specific person there. And I had one of the client principals who's like, the person who looks after the whole engagement, um, came to me, and I was like, listen, I'm just having a hard time here. Like, I'm completely done. I'm close to just now. I feel like I'm burnt out and I'm done. I'm not going to come to work for a while because, and I was actually quite afraid to tell him that because it's your career on the line,
Mm.
right? You can't just say, as a consultant, you're failing to influence.
Yeah.
And you like, you've just tried everything in your capacity and it's just toxic and it's not working
Mm.
because you're basically saying you can't do your
Yeah.
work. Um, but I think one of the things that I got from that relationship was he had my back. Is like, yeah, this is not working. This is not right. Take the time you need. Whatever you need, I have got you. Like, I trust you. I believe you've been doing the right things. I'm going to escalate this and I'm going to pitch in. And he'd been trying before, but then he was like, all right, I'm going to use something else, go higher up to get this
Mm.
resolved. And for me, that's also like every time, even after that engagement finished, he's still one of my favorite people in the world. But I always think back to that of like the person who just believes in you. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
you got this. You're not going crazy. You're not mad. I have your back.
Yeah.
And we don't have enough people telling us that, I feel, to just be like, yeah, I have your back. Whether it's in workplaces or especially in workplaces, because everybody's like fighting for their
Yeah. And everyone is busy.
ladder.
Yeah, and
Mm.
everyone is busy with their own me, right?
Exactly. Me.
Yeah.
And ever since that, I have always thought, especially as I've kind of like grown in my team leadership, I'm like, I want people in my team to know that I have their back.
Yeah.
And I trust you to say, if this is thing, I'm going into bat for you.
Mm.
No matter what, just know I'm always going to go in and bat for you because ultimately for me that experience, even years later, I'm like, yeah, that gave it, even boosted up my confidence to just start going back and be like, right, I can win this battle, I can influence this person.
No, and that's a mark of a good leader. And
Yeah.
and one thing, like I was saying even before, like you we take it for granted at times, but actually we don't know how rare it is, right? And how much of a
Mm,
privilege it becomes when you get to, have even someone like that in your own
yeah.
circle or experience working with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And we have to be that back to people.
Mm.
And for me, this the proverb as well is always like, I don't know. I've never believed we can be an island,
Yeah.
as in, you can make it on your own. I think we talked about this in some of the earlier chapters of like,
Yeah.
there's no one who's self-made. I know as, Forbes self-made millionaires.
No.
Really? Somebody came and was like, listen, I'm going to make a cup of tea for you because y'all, like, you haven't been sleeping for 3 days while you're building this here. Doom. They've poured into you.
No.
If without that cup of coffee, you would have passed out.
No, not even that. Like you could scale that out even farther, because like I was listening to some guy speaks like right now we're even like we're using English. Like who started it,
Mm,
right? Like people had to kind of like start a language, like develop the
exactly.
whole thing of language before we could even get to a place where we could even
Hmm.
use the thing. I started to watch these the Marvel movies with my
Hmm.
my son. He's reached that age, and kind of like so we do this. We have a little ritual. Every weekend we'll try if it's just me and him, and we have time to bar, and it's like, okay, well, which one of the Marvel movies? What's the next one
Yeah.
in the series? And so we were watching Iron Man, and I noticed something very strange. Like the very first Iron Man movie, right?
Yeah.
Uh, he gets, you know, kidnapped and put into like a cave somewhere with some terrorists and forced to build his Iron Man suit, right?
Mm,
From nothing. right? That's how it, in the story, that's how they tell it. But I was looking at it and I'm analyzing and I'm going like, no, it's not from nothing. He had built it before. He
Yeah.
knew what all these components were. And you know, like he was relying upon all the research the other people who came before him had done and
Um,
all those inventions. Building a reactor, it's like he did not figure out how to build a reactor.
he
He
didn't figure out how
reused.
to build the reactor that
Yeah,
somebody had done it before, and he
yeah,
was just enhancing that to suit his.
yeah. And so it's like you can't really make it on your own.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
And the interesting concepts for me that it brings up is the, especially in in the Western world, we're very individualistic. We're very what do they call it? Individual contributor. I see.
Ooh. Okay.
Individual contributor. In the workplace, I did this, I did that, I did. If you're in an interview and you say we, you are out. Ain't nobody letting you in. They want to know the I. What did you do? What
Mm.
did you do? What did you do? And that kind of like really tries to enforce the fact that you alone and your genius alone is what makes you. But in reality, even the tech bros are tech bros.
Yeah.
Wozniak had jobs. Um, Bill Gates had what's his name face from what's the other Bill Gates friend? Anyway,
I forget
Bill
his
Gates
name. Yeah.
had his partner there. Everyone has had somebody else pour into them to kind of like make this magic work.
Yeah.
And this is how we thrive. This is how we grow. We need extras.
Yeah.
We need other humans to get the job going. And again, if you're gonna make your billions from products and services, people gotta buy it.
Yep. You need
So you
customers.
need those humans to make you the self-made millionaire,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, without those humans taking your product, you are not going to be a self-made millionaire.
No, and life on your own, the meaning it makes is not as potent as from when there's
Mm,
others involved. So yeah, completely agree with that. I think that proverb is definitely onto something there. We need to take it seriously.
we need to take it serious.
Your
I
grandma,
also
hey.
like that it talks about fear, like it says it removes fear.
Yeah.
And for me, it's all about courage, like
Mm,
courage to be you, courage to follow your dreams, courage to follow your career. Any type of courage that you need, you can always find it within.
mm.
But sometimes when somebody triggers it, then all of a sudden you just like exponentially.
It's like a
Yeah,
multiplier. Yeah.
yeah. And so we always, in my head, I'm like, that's the thing we should be, tapping into.
Totally. That is the thing we need to be tapping into. And I think like we we're all at different maturity levels to kind of like see the value of it.
Yeah,
But like one thing I've experienced is like anyone who's come to that realization of the power of that takes it seriously.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
May we continue to live courageous lives and be of courage to others.